everyone, and welcome to another episode of First Look Final Word, podcast where we take you along to see a new movie. I'm Pete.
And I'm Trevor, and that sound you hear is us already rolling. We're already on our way to the movie.
Yeah, we're not wasting any time this week because we're going to a Screen X showing of Furiosa.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, or maybe the format's called something different in different regions.
Yeah, in Canada it's Screen X.
Yeah, do you want to give a quick description of what Screen X is?
I can try. I don't really know, but from what I understand, it's the where they extend the frame of the actual typical frame of the movie with stuff on the sides to sort of make it more immersive. It's supposed to be. I'm not entirely sure how they extend it if it's not footage that was been shot. I don't think they just stretch it out because that would be weird. Things would get all cut off.
Yeah,
I guess we'll find out.
You were saying you think that maybe it's like AI.
Yeah, well, I thought I remember when it first came out. I'm sure I read somewhere that they had people go in and actually extend and create additional things in the scene. But yeah, and I was thinking they could probably just have AI do that, like generative fill that you see in Photoshop and stuff. Just do that to the whole movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like that wouldn't work too well. But anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be like special edition crap or whatever. So we say which movie we're gonna go see. We're gonna go see
Furiosa. Yes.
Furiosa.
Furiosa.
Is there a subtitle to this?
I think it's a Mad Max.
A Mad Max story?
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Yes.
Gotta get Mad Max in there somewhere.
Otherwise, it's not going to sell, although doesn't look like it is anyway, to be honest.
Well, because when you first suggested we do this Screen X thing, I got confused and I thought it was like the 4D thing where the seats move and they blow fart smells in your face.
I don't know if they have here anymore.
I don't think that they have it in Canada anywhere. Not that I'm aware of.
No, I've never seen it.
Some big markets in the US have it for sure.
Yeah. I would like to give that a try.
I like to give it a try too, even though I get nauseous very easily.
Yeah.
Like the Screen X is probably going to make me dizzy.
Spraying fart juice out here.
Yeah, exactly.
A great time.
Well, we thought to try Screen X, maybe a Mad Max movie would be a good one because there's lots of open space, right?
Lots of extra desert and additional cars, I guess. I guess we'll find out.
So, but we've been looking up the reviews of Screen X and they're not overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. Hot tip, maybe look at reviews before you commit to doing something.
Yeah. So
I got burned on that already once this week.
What was that?
I paid out $150 to go to a Lego convention.
Okay.
And then once I paid for it, I looked up reviews and it was just a bunch of people saying, "Don't go, it's a scam."
Oh no. Is it like the Willy Wonka?
Yeah,
from Scotland.
Someone actually said it is the Willy Wonka experience of Lego. So I got that cancelled. I got my money back, thankfully. But
okay, that's good.
Oh boy.
So is it just some guy who built some Legos and walk around?
It was one of those targeted ad things right on social media where it's it's just tons of cool Lego builds and you get to do all this crazy fun stuff. Then I saw people's pictures and videos from the event and it was 3 tables and stuff.
Oh, no.
And
for $150?
Tons of people there just and they're not set up to cover it at all.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, that algorithm sure has your number though, doesn't it?
Right, yeah. No. Ever since I've been on it, I've just had ad after ad about it. So, I'm going to step away from social media for a while.
Yeah, except go on our socials. Engage with us there.
Personal social media could take a backseat.
So why don't we get into our history with Mad Max?
Sure. All right. Yeah.
Do you want to what does this franchise mean to you?
It's weird because it's one of those things where growing up, it was just one of the things that was I guess in the zeitgeist, it was just an understood thing that Mad Max was this entity, and because I don't have any memory of watching, especially the first one, when I was growing up. But I guess because what year did Thunderdome come out? Because I think that probably would have been when it got me in my age range.
Thunderdome, I think was 86.
Should probably look it up, but yeah. So even that was a bit that would have been the one that I would probably have been first exposed to, just because I was so young. But I remember loving the aesthetic of it. I think that's the whole thing, right? I don't remember specifics of the movies. Even at this point, I couldn't tell you what exactly happens from scene to scene in the first movie, especially, or even Road Warrior. But just the whole aesthetic and the character of Mad Max, I've always been a great fan of.
Yeah, Mad Max is certainly a vibes franchise.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I mean. It's like everyone knows what Mad Max is, but if you ask them to tell you a plot of any of the original movies, they might struggle. Because I would.
Well, it was interesting because I think it was just yesterday or the day before, I was asking my brother-in-law if he was a fan of the Mad Max movies. And he's like, no, I've never bothered watching it. Like,
really?
He thought it was like similar to like Fast and Furious or something like that, like a heist movie basically is what he heist movie with cars and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, no, it's post-apocalyptic, like people get like really into cars and cosplay, basically.
Yeah.
So I think I sold it kind of on that level. But I guess I came to it a lot later than you did, because I wasn't even really aware of Mad Max until first year university. I just saw some like some clips from The Road Warrior, and I downloaded the movie that night, and then I'm like, oh, this is like
legally downloaded. Right?
I think the statute of limitations is passed. Yeah, I downloaded it. Well, that first year university, I got kicked off my like dorm internet a bunch for downloading things.
You're a big rebel in university.
I'm a big rebel. Well, I downloaded the Machinist. Do you ever watch that one?
Yes.
So I think it was Paramount.
Highbrow rebel.
So Paramount tracked it back to my dorm room, and they messaged the university. The university messaged me and said, you can only get your internet access back if you send an apology email to them and CC us and promise never to do it again.
Should have messaged back and said, I'll get a VPN, don't worry about it.
Well, I don't think I knew what a VPN was back then. It's a little while ago. But anyway, so I watched The Road Warrior, and I thought, like, well, this is the most incredible action movie I've ever seen. Like I really did fall in love. And then I watched the first one, and then watched Thunderdome probably that same weekend.
Yeah, I always found the first one a bit tough to use. Like it's just a bit too sort of like you can tell he wasn't able to do always everything that he necessarily wanted to do.
Yeah, it's not quite like post-apocalyptic either. Like
super polished.
It's like the world is sort of falling apart. People are super into driving down this one highway, but people still have jobs and stuff like that. But yeah, like it was an independent Australian movie that overperformed, right?
Yeah.
And then with like this really amazing central performance by Mel Gibson.
Right.
But I, even though I'm a huge Mad Max fan, I do tend to kind of skip over the first one for the most part.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I absolutely adore The Road Warrior. It's one of my favorite movies, and I love the first half of Thunderdome. The second half I'm not so crazy about, but I still quite like the movie overall.
Yeah, I'm a similar way with don't come after me, but with like the Evil Dead series, like love the Evil Dead movies, but the first one I don't necessarily go back to that one as much, as because the second one's basically like a redo.
Yeah, like it's basically like the first half hour they just redo the first one, and it's more leaning into the comedy stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
So the
first one's a great like gonzo horror movie, and
yeah,
I love it for that. But same with Road Warrior, like it's a master of his craft, like figuring it out and showing what you can do, but not having the means to do it as much as they would like. And then like, give me the budget and the time, and I'll do it even better again.
Well, see, and so this is where we might disagree, because I think The Road Warrior is still the best Mad Max movie. Like even more than Fury Road, even though like I think Fury Road is one of the best action movies to last like 20 years or whatever. But I still just love The Road Warrior.
I don't know if I can. I don't remember the last time I've seen Road Warrior, but I know that it's amazing. But I don't know. There's something about Fury Road that I just love. Like I watched it again last night.
It's intoxicating.
It's just so well done. It's just there's not really much of it. Like it's not complicated. It doesn't do much. It's just driving one place, driving back. But like it shouldn't work. That's why I find it so amazing, because it shouldn't work as half as well as it does, and it's just so propulsive and just amazing.
Well, that's why like
shouldn't work that way. I don't know how he did it.
The one photo that kind of leaked, I don't know if it leaked or if it was just like part of the press for Fury Road. They showed like Miller's storyboard for the movie.
Oh yeah.
And it's basically like, he draws a circle, right? Like you go here and then they go back, because that's what the movie is.
Yeah.
Right. And then So that's Fury Road. Then Road Warrior is just like, they go in a straight line, and then that's that movie, right? So like,
I have to draw it out.
They're not, and it's like not like there's no plot, right? But it's like it's very simple story.
It's just like it's a vehicle for like it's just a flip plot that you hang the action on.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, there's a even with that flip plot though, like the characters you really like, they really connect, and the story even connects, even though there's not much of it. Like you care about the characters, which with action movies is really difficult to do. Like most action movies that lean into that stuff, even with like superhero movies and stuff, you lose that sort of connection to the characters, and like, why do I care about this action that's happening? Which I think, like with the Fast and the Furious franchise, I think it gets a lot of stuff, but a lot of shit. But I think that kind of does a good job of that. Well, not that I'm a huge fan of those movies, but at least they sort of lean into the family part side of it and trying to make you care about the characters. I mean, they do it a bit more hand-fistedly than they do, obviously, in Mad Max. But I just feel like that's an important part, like, which people typically forget when they're trying to do a big, loud movie. It's like, well, we need to care about the people that these big, loud things are happening to.
Well, it's like so much of Mad Max is the look and feel of it.
Yeah.
It's like you see a character, they're on stilts, they're wearing binoculars. Like you don't really need to know that much more about them.
True enough.
Like your mind just like fills in the gaps because like all the details are so rich and vivid, and like you got a guy just shredding guitar like the back. Like is he like a guitar slave? Like is he forced to do that every day?
You make a good point with how your mind fills in, because he does not give you any sort of explanation or exposition or even much dialogue to sort of explain, like, why is this guy here? He just shows you, hey, this guy's here doing this. Like, figure it out.
Yeah. And like he's probably been here doing this for the past 20 years.
Like I really thought that when I was watching Fury Road last night, because like they'll mention, hey, yeah, we're going to Gas Town to see
the bullet farm.
The bullet farmer and the people eater. And it's like, but then they don't really explain like why it's called that. So in my mind, I'm like, does he eat people? I mean, I'm guessing so with a name like that. I don't know.
Do you remember the villain from the first Mad Max movie?
No,
Toe Cutter.
It's just like explain what they do with their name and then just leave it.
Yeah.
You don't have to show any toes necessarily.
And then Road Warrior, it's the Great Lord Humongous. And then I can't remember
brilliant names.
What is Tina Turner's name in Thunderdome? I know there's Master Blaster.
Right.
It's a great character. I can't remember what her name is, though she is a good villain.
Maybe either one. Yeah, like there's some of the character names, like even in Fury Road, like Doof Warrior, Rictus Erectus.
Oh man.
It's like,
well, and that's what I really appreciate about Fury Road, because he just took what he was already doing and just dialed it up to 11.
Man, he really did. What? How did you feel about Mel Gibson and moving into Tom Hardy for Fury Road?
Well, by the time Fury Road came out, like Mel Gibson was pretty well canceled by that point.
Very
and like
true.
kind of,
and probably too old.
And yeah, and like, would I want like an alternate universe where Mel Gibson wasn't like a total asshole, like to do an aged Max? Like I think that'd be pretty cool. Like
Poppy could have made that work actually in that movie. He didn't have to do it. Wasn't doing anything. You know what? I'd say that, but I was like, he wasn't doing anything too crazy. And then in my mind, I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like swinging on things and being tied to cars. Like, yeah, I would do that to a 67-year-old man.
Even saying that, like Tom Hardy is not really what is so great about Fury Road. Like,
no, I was actually going to say that, and that's why I find it interesting that this movie is called Furiosa and it's focused on Furiosa, when in reality, like Fury Road was Furiosa.
Yeah.
Like you didn't need Mad Max in that movie at all.
Yeah, like I think basically like Miller was already not interested in Max as a character anymore, but like
it's like, how do you make a Mad Max movie without Mad Max in it?
Yeah, exactly. Like and that's why like a Mad Max story is the subtitle for this one, right?
Yeah. What if they'll shoehorn him in the background somewhere?
I don't know. Like I haven't heard anything about this movie, so
I just love Chris Hemsworth and his fake teeth. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be look. So we talked about this a bit on a previous episode, though I can't remember which one, but about how this is a prequel and how Charlize Theron isn't in it anymore. How did you feel when that was first announced?
I kind of got it that if they want to do prequel and they have to go younger, so maybe bringing Charlize back wouldn't work too well. And I did read a quote from where that was his initial intent, was to bring her back and then maybe do some digital de-aging. But then I can't remember what, I think it was maybe The Irishman he saw, and he was like, "No, we're definitely not going that route." It's just going to be weird if it's a full movie of just the de-aged main characters, and it's not going to work.
Well, and there's already like such like nonsense going on in the background, right? Where it's like a surreal environment that they're in. It's like you can't really have a surreal person's face.
No, you need something in the ground. You're right. Yeah, so I'm not sure about that. I mean, I don't mind it. Like, I think. I mean, Charlize Theron was really good in Fury Road as that character, but I mean, this character's going to be in a different place altogether. So I don't mind having a different actress take on the role.
Yeah, I guess like I'm just like predisposed to disliking sequels, although
sequels or prequels
or prequels. Sorry, did I say sequels? I for the most part,
anything.
The first movie's always the best one.
Ruining.
I'm predisposed to dislike prequels.
Yes.
But George Miller has earned the benefit of the doubt for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going in with high expectations. I for the most part I like Anna Taylor-Joy, but like I don't know if I've seen her in an action movie before. Whereas like Charlize Theron like does have a pretty good action resume.
Yeah.
Even before Mad Max. And like very few female actresses really do have that kind of resume. So
no, that's very true.
I was just a little bit disappointed because like the Furiosa character is like one of the best characters in science fiction, basically. And I feel like it's very tied to Charlize Theron, but you know, I'm happy to be proved wrong after tonight.
I think I kind of agree with you. Like, I almost would have preferred a Furiosa movie that was a sequel.
Yeah, same.
Because the spoilers for Fury Road, but the end of that movie has her story continuing in whatever way that would be. So I kind of might have been more, because that's the inherent problem with prequels, right? Like you know where it's going to end, so it kind of takes a lot of the jeopardy out of it. Like, are we going to be worried that she's going to die at any point in this movie? No, because she's got massive plot armor because she's in Fury Road, and we know where she started in Fury Road, which is kind of where she's going to end in this movie or thereabouts.
I kind of hope that there's still like a middle section that we don't know, like, so it doesn't.
Okay, like it's like,
because if it just
like a 10-year gap between the end of this movie and the start of the next one.
If it just ends with her being a thrall of Morton Joe, like it's
movie, right? So
but like that's kind of like a bummer, right? Like,
yeah, it's a bummer. That's what I mean. Like she has to at some point end up being like an imperator for Morton Joe. So, but if it doesn't end there, you're like, well, but we know where she's going to end up. So
yeah.
It's going to be a bummer either way. If it ends on a happy note for you, that's not going to last. Sorry, Lo. If it ends where you expected it, and you go, yeah, I guess that's where she was supposed to be, in a horrible position.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a bit about Mad Max now. Do we want to get into our question of the week?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, and question this week was, what is your favorite car movie?
Car movie, yeah.
And how would you define what a car movie is?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question, right? So, because, I mean, the obvious answer is a movie that's centered around a car, or has a car as a cars as a major sort of feature of the movie.
And so, would you count like a road movie as a car movie?
That's the thing,
because like I feel like that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Where I was kind of approaching it as like a car movie kind of has to be adjacent to car culture.
Maybe, yeah. Because my mind went as well, though, to like, well, what about specific iconic vehicles?
Oh, we could talk about that,
right?
For sure, too.
Because that doesn't really count as a car movie, but it's a movie with an iconic vehicle in it.
Why don't we do a side tangent of that for a couple of minutes? Because that sounds good too,
right? Because that's what my mind. Because I'm like, oh, like car culture, like car movies. Like I'm not really into that. So like, I don't know, Fast and the Furious. And, I don't know what else. Like, I guess like Disney's Pixar's Cars. Does that count?
I think we've already had a Cars talk on this podcast.
Yeah, okay, let's talk iconic vehicles.
Let's talk about iconic car.
That's easier. There's so many.
I do have a couple examples of car movies that I like, but we both thought that this was a funny question because neither of us are like car guys.
I'm not really a gearhead.
Though I like seeing cars race and crash into each other.
Right. Yeah, true. I guess that would be another one. Like, there's lots of specific, like, racing movies, right? Like,
well, what I was going to open up the list with is Talladega Nights.
I was just going to say that Talladega Nights is one.
Which I just absolutely love, and I love that
it's a great movie.
It's a racing movie that it really doesn't make any sense.
It's not supposed to, I guess. Right? You don't get many comedies around cars, though.
Well, like I much prefer that to like Days of Thunder.
Okay,
which I find a little boring.
Yeah, it's not the best.
And then I don't know if did you see Ferrari that came out?
I didn't know. I was going to mention it, but I haven't seen it. So
yeah, like I like some of the racing stuff was cool, but for the most part, it didn't really work for me. Like I've always kind of struggled with Michael Mann movies. Like there are a couple that I really like, but then his recent outputs not stuff I've really been a fan of.
Yeah, it's not. So I say I've not seen it. It's not stuff that I would rush to go and see, even though I'm sure it's very well done.
Yeah, and like a movie like Ford versus Ferrari.
I was going to say Ford versus Ferrari.
I think the racing scenes in that are incredible, though. Right. I think the movie's kind of stupid.
Not the whole back, Joe.
Yeah, like I think like the way that the characters interact in that movie, like it makes it seem like they're like completely different characters from scene to scene.
Right.
And the movie cannot like decide on whether it likes the Ford company. Not like sometimes it seems like propaganda for Ford, and sometimes it's just like, yeah, they're a shit company that makes shit cars.
Yeah. I wonder if they had any input into that, like a few notes.
I don't know.
Make it seem less horrible in this scene, please, isn't it? Yeah. You probably wouldn't let any of it slip through if that was the case. Although you Ford in the title, you'd think they must have some say about it.
I don't know. Like, can they say like, no, you can't make this movie using our brand?
I mean, I guess I don't really know how copyright law, right? I mean, I guess. I don't know. I guess we should talk about things we have no idea about.
Yeah.
Just like randomly talk about things that we don't know anything about. Although that's the whole podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, and then some other, since we're rattling these off quickly, other ones I had thought about, like, or David Cronenberg's Crash.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that, but that's
not the Paul Haggis Crash, the Cronenberg Crash from the 90s.
I guess though they're both car related.
Well, I don't really like the Paul Haggis one, but that one gets ragged on enough online.
Oh yeah, very true.
But Cronenberg's Crash is like a pretty cool movie.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets the question of car culture that I was talking about,
right.
Where it really leans into like how cars are kind of this weird thing that we both like we sexualize and romanticize cars, but they're also like these vehicles of death.
Yeah. Very true.
So having all that happen in one movie is pretty cool. And then I cap off my list with saying The Road Warrior, which is an easy answer.
Yeah, I guess if we're allowed to say Mad Max movies, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a cheat, but I think I've mentioned this before. I have not seen a lot of Fast and Furious movies.
Oh no!
So like, I guess that it might like hinder my opinion in this category.
The Fast and Furious movies, I have a strange relationship with them as well, because I didn't mind the first one. It was just speed with cars. Not speed, Point Break with cars.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fine, Point Break with cars, but I don't care about cars, so all the stuff that was very car focused, I didn't care about. But my wife loved it because she loves fast cars and stuff. And then the second one was like I didn't care about at all, or the third one. But then when it got to like the fifth one, like I don't know if I just realized or they really changed the tone, but like they just really leaned into just like the absurd action part of it versus the car culture part of it. And they still throw it in there. Like they'll go and do like their little drag races and whatever. And which I just find boring. It just shows the cars. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I just want to see them blowing up and stuff. But the stuff that they do, and it's got crazier and crazier with every movie.
Well, they've gone to space now, right?
Man, yes. Some of them are not. Some of them are not good, but some of them are actually pretty good. If you get on board and realize that it's just dumb,
yeah,
and you can tell that like everybody in the movie knows what it is, that it's just a big dumb action movie, except for Vin Diesel, who still thinks it's like proper cinema. He's the only one like playing it super straight. It's just, I just find that incredible to watch as well. It's just like,
well, it's
like an interesting study of someone's ego.
Isn't that why like the second one was kind of panned, because it was a little too like cartoonish for the time that it came in, and the culture hadn't quite caught up to it at the time? Because I
don't even remember much about
because
one anymore.
I remember like liking the first one, because like the first Fast and Furious came out around the same time as Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, okay.
Did you see that one back in the day?
Yeah, that's not
because that one's big, like on like, oh, these are like all the fancy cars that we need to steal.
Yeah.
And I think that was around like when I was in like grade 8 or whatever, both movies came out, and then like all the guys in the playground talked about how cool those movies were, and so I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll get into these movies too. And then I saw Too Fast, Too Furious, and then I thought it was just like really silly and dumb.
Yeah.
So then I never bothered. I literally just never bothered watching any other movies in the future.
Right.
And then when people start talking about how like, oh, they've actually gotten really good again, and they're like they're stupid good in a good way, I've wondered like, oh, maybe like I was just like not appreciating the second one for what it was doing, and maybe I would actually like it if I kind of went through the whole series now.
If you wanted, I would just skip them all and go straight to 5 and just watch 5.
Well,
and if you can get behind 5, then you might get on board with it.
I've said now, like when they finish, I will like do a full marathon and catch up.
I don't know, man. That's a big ask. That'd be way too much. So, although I did watch
10 movies now, right? That's nothing. I've done like last year. I did all the Jason movies, right? And like there's some slogs there.
True enough.
So I'm no stranger to just watching crap.
Fair enough. Yeah, I watched it. I said it was the latest one, the one that had Jason Momoa in it. I watched that.
Is it Jason? Yeah,
I watched that.
Is this John Cena's in 9 and Jason Momoa's in 10? And
yeah, there's just like
apparently like a war crime.
They just like bring back so many characters, and bring back dead characters and change their whole like character. They did that with Jason Statham's character. I don't remember which one that is. That might have been 4, where he was like the main villain, and he like was killing people and killing characters you love, and then like everyone loved him so much. The next one they like made him a good guy, and like, oh, let's really kill. They're actually alive now. Didn't kill him after all. Well, he's just a misunderstood guy.
Yeah, it's kind of their own fault for wasting Statham on a villain character.
Yeah, and they got his own spin-off movie with
The Rock. Yeah, you've seen that one, Hobbs and Shaw?
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
See, I feel like I'm mostly like on the inside for all these franchises, but that's the one where I'm definitely on the outside for.
And should give it a go. Like it's got its charms for sure.
Thing is, I like liking things, so I don't like that I've just kind of not seen this one. Like I've seen all the Twilight movies, but I haven't seen Fast and Furious.
The thing you'll find though is like the quality just like is so all over the place. Like some of them are really fun, and then others are just like, oh, this is just like terrible, not in a fun way. So it's tough because like I didn't watch 9 because I was just like I had enough of it. And I was like, I'm not watching another one. But then I was like, oh, I'll give it a go if Jason Momoa is just like yucking it up.
But I've heard 10 is the worst one.
Yeah, it's not good either.
Okay. Well, it was like supposed to be the last one, right? And then they're going to be like 10 2 parts. But then Vin Diesel's now said that they're never going to end it.
I don't know. I mean, speaking of Charlize Theron, though, she's in that franchise.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. Everybody's in that franchise.
Like Gal Gadot is in that, right?
Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren, okay. Does she play like the head of the CIA or something?
Like that, yeah.
Okay, that's be my guess. Yeah,
my boss.
Okay. Well, did you have any like? So was Fast 5 kind of your Fast and Furious answer for like best car movies?
Yeah, I would say Fast 5 is a real high point in that series. I think. As car movies go, that would be the one I'd go for. Outside of a Mad Max movie, obviously.
Oh, you know what? One that I just thought of. It's like an early Spielberg movie. I think it was a made-for-TV movie.
So, yeah,
it's Duel.
Duel, yeah.
Have you seen this one?
Yeah, I have. I really liked it. Actually.
It's really great
so good
for people who like. And I think a lot of people think that Jaws is Spielberg's first movie.
Well, yeah, and I guess you can be like, technically, it was a TV movie, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
But no, and it's definitely.
But also the plot of Duel is this guy in like a tiny car basically pisses off a transport truck driver, and the transport truck driver starts like hunting him.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's kind of like a man versus beast movie, except like it's just like an unseen truck driver in a giant transport truck. It's really, really well done. And like
so well done.
On like a shoestring budget too. Like it's really quite good.
I want to go rewatch Duel actually.
Yeah.
A while since I've seen that.
I think it's like a clean 90 minutes.
There you go.
plus all the commercials.
Right.
Yeah, so you mentioned like famous cars. We want to get into that?
Sure, let's go. Iconic cars.
Okay. What are you coming out of the gate with?
Okay, we just do the big ones. Like the DeLorean from Back to the Future, obviously. That'd probably be my favorite if I had to pick one.
I would say like I do really like the Interceptor from Road Warrior.
Okay, yeah.
Shame it gets blown up.
Yeah, it's funny how like they really gave it its own set, like a lot of attention in the movie.
Yeah, and then like he did he have the Interceptor again in Fury Road?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it was the same one because he's like, "That's my car," and then he gets blown up.
Yeah, so I guess like the timeline for like does Fury Road technically take place before Road Warrior?
I don't think so.
Because like, but his car gets blown up at the end of Road Warrior. Then,
but maybe it's just a similar.
He just finds a different one.
Can't be a prequel, sure.
It's because it's tough to tell how much time has actually passed between Mad Max 1 and Mad Max 2.
True.
And then really impossible to tell.
What did he have in the third one?
The third one, he just strolled into Bartertown.
Right.
On
no scene of him in the Stein.
Yeah, he had like a horse and buggy, remember? Like because he got scammed out of it by the guy who played like the gyrocopter and his kid.
Right.
Or was it a camel? Like maybe it was a camel.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but you have a much better memory of Thunderdome than I have, apparently.
Well, I do go through them quite often. Like I do love those movies.
Not one time you visit very often, to be honest with you.
Except like in Thunderdome when they like the final chase is on a train, which I feel like is just like a complete misunderstanding of the movies. Like
right.
I don't know. The Batmobile.
Yeah. Which one? That's a good question.
Adam West one.
Adam West one?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, like as a kid, like the one from '89 where like it had like the shield that went up around it. I just thought was the coolest thing in the world.
They were all pretty cool though, aren't they? Really, let's be honest.
What about like was there in Batman and Robin, was there like an ice themed Batmobile that he had?
Oh, I don't remember a lot of that.
It's been a spell since I've seen that one.
Right. It's like that movies I don't often revisit. Batman and Robin would be pretty high on that list.
Yeah. I guess you mean the Nolan like tank one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the original Tim Burton one.
And then what kind of car is he driving in the Matt Reeves one?
I don't know if he even has. Does he have a Batmobile in that one?
Yeah, he does. It's like a
souped up car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen that once, so I don't have a good memory.
He causes like a huge amount of wreckage on the highway, chasing the Penguin.
Right, yeah.
To ask the Penguin a question that ends up bearing no fruit on the plot.
He drives, like he jumps through flames at one point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that trailer.
It's an incredible chase scene, but it just has no bearing on the plot whatsoever.
No, which is fine.
It's sort of fine. Like I do quite like that movie, but
yeah, I know what you mean though.
I feel like it could have been a little tighter plot wise.
Sure. It was way better than I expected it to be, put it that way. Because like, how do you make another Batman movie, make it something that's interesting to see?
Yeah,
which I think they did. That's an interesting take on something.
Well, it just seems crazy that it took so long for someone to figure out like we should have Batman be a detective for a movie,
right? That's what he's supposed to be good at.
Yeah. Like the world's greatest detective. I'm like, what's the biggest thing he solved before that.
Just type stuff into a computer.
Yeah, like in the first Batman, he just like he types like all the products into the computer, and then the computer spits out like what are the lethal combinations of these products. I'm like, all right, great job, Bat computer.
Exactly. It's like who would have thrown in the greatest detective alive wouldn't think of using AI to solve his crimes for him.
Yeah.
So what have we got so far? I've got a good one. Came up again recently. Ecto 1.
Oh yeah, okay.
Loved that when I was a kid. That was one of my favorites.
I don't know.
Classic car.
I like the souped up version that they got in the new one.
I like the side door.
Yeah.
I actually use the side door, like the chair that pops out of it.
It's cool. And they got the RC stuff going on there too. I think that's pretty cool.
Drone though. You have a drone in it?
Yeah, they have a drone. Yes. I thought that was a good innovation.
And the RC car's the trap, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
If you want to hear Pete and I talk about the new Ghostbuster movies, we do have a podcast episode on that.
Yeah, go check out Frozen Empire.
Yeah, we won't tell you what on that. Won't tell you what we thought about that though. You got to go in and look at it.
Just to actually not to go too far off topic again to Ghostbusters, but I was reading Wild and Crazy Guys. I don't think you've read
yeah, that's sort of like the sequel to Last Action Hero.
The one we were talking about last episode. But it's a similar thing about all the guys from the 80s, and that book was published before these last two Ghostbusters movies, and it was like doing a wrap up on where
Dan Aykroyd
is in his life. It's like he's trying to get the third Ghostbusters movie made, and he had this plan for Andy Garcia being like a Donald Trump character on the top, like in New York, and how he's like turns New York into hell and stuff. And he's like confident of like moving forward and getting it made. It's like, well, that never happened. But
oh dear. Well, but like Zemeckis already did that in Back to the Future Part 2. Like,
right, like, exactly, yeah.
Like Biff is basically like, what if Donald Trump turned like the entire town into a casino?
Exactly. Yeah. So it would have been interesting to see. Maybe that's why they never went forward with that one. But he's been trying to get Ghostbusters stuff made ever since the first one came out.
Yeah. Well, we must be missing some iconic cars here, right?
It's hard because my mind goes to TV stuff, which I don't want to get into too much. Well, you know what I was thinking about though? Not really the same sort of thing, but Sam Raimi and his old.
Oh yeah, like it's technically in every Sam Raimi movie, right?
I think so. I think he shoehorns it in every time.
Because I'm trying to think of where in Multiverse of Madness
it's the scene where I can't remember which. I think it's where he just before he fights Strange Supreme, and like everything's floating.
Right.
He has one of the floating cars in the background. Some nerd found it.
Right. Okay.
And I am a nerd, so I looked to find out it was in there. But it definitely is in there because I saw a bunch of articles. It comes up every time he puts a movie out about this car. They like give you a list of where it is in every movie. I actually saw it today. A screen capture of where it was. So yeah, I thought I'd give that a mention because it's funny because growing up in England as well as it like I saw vehicles in movies and I was like, oh, that's iconic because it was like an American car that I never would see in my daily life. So
I guess they're not really importing those over.
No, right? So something as stupid as like my mind went to is like doesn't make any sense was like a station wagon from Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
I was like, it's so in my mind, it's so connected to that movie because that's the only time I would have seen that car, and it was like prominent in that movie. But to people here, might be like, what do you mean that was just a car that everyone drove?
Yeah. Well, that's still what I would think about when I see that one.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it's just me or if it's
well, that car, like, and that's sort of like a road movie, right? But I feel like, for iconic cars, that definitely and like the bus from Little Miss Sunshine, or like that.
Oh yeah,
like what is that?
VW?
Yeah, I think so.
Like a camper.
Yeah, I think it's like a camper. Exactly.
That sort of vehicle, at least. Yeah, I feel like we must be. People are probably screaming at screen. Oh, one that I did have that I have a real soft spot for is Herbie the Love Bug. You're a Herbie fan?
I've never really seen any of the Herbie movies, though. Like,
to be fair, I think that's a massive nostalgia pick for me because like I watched that when I was a kid, and And like it's a talking car, and it's a VW Beetle or Bug if you're in America.
Yeah, how many Herbie movies have they made over the years?
There's quite a few actually.
I think so because they like rebooted it with Lindsay Lohan and stuff too, right?
Back in the day, I think there was a good like 4 or 5 different Herbie movies, and then it's one of those things where then they just got rattled off into TV movies, and they just made tons of like horrible versions of it.
Right.
But no, I just love that. Like that's an iconic vehicle with the badges and the stripes and whatnot.
What about
talking cars? Is always a good genre. You can give your car some personality. Like that.
So I guess we can't count Kit though. That's not from.
No, that's what I was going to say.
Movie.
Like, might write a movie at any point.
There's probably a TV movie or something.
I feel like have they not rebooted that at any point? I feel like it'd be ripe for them bringing out a revamped, updated version of Knight Rider. I feel like they must have done that. They've done every other show like that.
I would be really surprised if there wasn't just like a 2013 TV show of Knight Rider that I just missed entirely.
Like a movie. Because like they did with the 18. I don't think they had the van in that though, did they? Because that would be my other one. The 18 van is a huge one.
It'd be tough to get people to go to the theater to see like a guy solve crimes with his car.
No, man. All right, who get that nostalgia coin?
Who are they casting as
Michael Knight?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Who's hot right now?
They'd probably cast John Hamm.
Probably like Chris Pratt.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, can you imagine that?
You know what? Chris Pine would be good.
Chris Pine would be good.
I'd watch that one.
Which of the Hollywood Chris's would be the best Michael Knight?
Chris Messina. Or Chris O'Dowd.
Yeah, I wish they were Hollywood Chris's anymore.
Do you like the Italian Job?
Yes, good shout. Italian Job, what an amazing movie. That also had a remake.
Yeah, and the remake was okay from what I remember, but yeah, the first one just
annoyed me because it was you don't need to remake that movie.
Yeah, but no, some great car scenes. Are those Mini Coopers?
Mini Coopers, yeah. That movie made me want a Mini Cooper more than anything, and I still do to this day. Although I don't think I would get my 6'3" frame into it very easily.
Well, you could like lean the seat back.
I remember talking to a guy about this, like taking the back seat out and just putting bucket seats in it so I could fit in it.
Like talking to the salesman?
No, it was just like it was a guy who had one. He was a big collector, and like I was trying to get into.
Well, especially like those ones from like the early 70s are just so iconic.
Exactly. Yeah, that design and those cars. That's a good shout, Trevor. Good pull.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're at the theater now. I wonder if we're going to see some cool cars in this one.
Yeah, the side of the frame projected onto the wall, maybe.
Well, if you are new to the podcast, Pete and I are going to go in, watch the movie, then come back out here, give you a quick spoiler-free review, tell you the best time to go pee during the movie, and then give you a good warning before we head into spoiler talk.
You also get a quick review of Screen X. This is the first time we've gone.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be bad, but we'll see.
I'm open to being a...
You know what? It's going to be amazing.
Could be great.
Okay. We'll see you guys after the break.
Yep, don't go anywhere, guys. Welcome back, everyone. We're already on the road, but we have just come out of the theater after seeing Furiosa.
Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga.
A Mad Max Saga.
Yeah, I think we're calling it story, but it was a saga, wasn't it?
Was it saga or a story?
No, I think it's saga.
I
was saying I think it counts as a saga.
Oh, it definitely counts.
It's certainly a story too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what do you think? First reactions?
First reactions. I really enjoyed it. I think it's too long. If I'm going to be like totally honest, I was a bit worried about that because it's 2.5 hour runtime, and like you can't just be that propulsive for 2.5 hours. I think it's too much. But I was hoping I wouldn't feel it, but I think I did. I think there's definitely some fat you could cut out of that, but that's really a small niggle. Really, I think I really enjoyed it. I find it hard to talk about without spoiling anything. So I don't know, because the ending, I think I want to talk about, which one I will get into, but No, I really enjoy. I enjoyed Chris Hemsworth just like I knew I was going to. I thought he really leaned into to like the craziness of the character in that world. I think it worked really well. But yeah, so I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the character. There are some niggles that I had with it. It's definitely not as good as Fury Road, but I think it's definite. I think it's a good follow up to that. I think it's a worthy prequel. I don't think it really had a negative effect on that movie. What about you, Trevor? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I think for someone going into it, if you can kind of just detach your expectations from Fury Road, I think would be the better.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because like it doesn't quite get near those heights. It's much more interested in being a character study, I would say.
True.
Than, just being like a high octane, nonstop chase. Miller's doing something very different for this one, so I do appreciate that. He's not just trying to make the same movie over and over again.
Yeah.
But like I definitely am with you when you say that it's a bit too long. Because I think there were 5 acts to this movie, right?
Yeah.
Like each act, I guess, was necessary, but 2 hours and 30 minutes to tell the story kind of just wears down on you a little bit.
Yeah, like I kept checking my watch, being like, Anya Taylor-Joy's in this movie, right? Like, I felt like we were already like an hour in before she showed up.
At least 40 minutes.
Right?
45.
Which not the worst thing, like, because it's not like there was a good story and good movie up until that point. I was just a bit like, how much movie is there going to be here? Because I feel like we spent a lot of time with little kid Furiosa, which I appreciated, but I feel like you could have cut a lot of that stuff out. And well, not even just that, you could have cut lots of things out, I think.
Yeah. Well, and so how did you feel about Anya Taylor-Joy in that?
I thought she did fine. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't fully buy it by the end. Like I thought the sort of transformation of that character, I guess, from where she starts to where she ends. I didn't really feel it as much as I was thought I would. I didn't see her like the character from Fury Road. I did not see in her by the end of that movie.
Yes. Well, and careful for not spoiling.
Yeah, it's tough, right?
The movie does really embrace being a prequel. Like,
more than I expected, actually. Way more than I expected.
It does not like try to pretend like we're just going to do like entirely separate story or whatever.
No.
It's definitely like Furiosa's origin story, and the connections between that and Fury Road are very palpable.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So in a way, I guess I kind of respect that. Like it's kind of very comparable to Rogue One in that way.
Right. Yeah. That's a good shout, actually.
It does kind of lead directly into the events of Fury Road. But that in itself kind of, as you say, like, Anya Taylor-Joy is supposed to be basically the Furiosa that we meet at the beginning of Fury Road by the end of this movie. And, I guess I agree with you. I don't quite see it. No, not to say that she didn't do a good job playing, a different spin on the character.
Yeah, no, I thought she was perfectly fine. But and that's the problem with casting younger people in prequels, right? It's tough.
Yeah, and as I was saying on the drive up here, like that performance by Charlize Theron is honestly one of my all-time faves. Like, so it's
so good.
It's a really hard shoes to fill, and she did a good job, but like it's like trying to play Han Solo, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking that exact thing. It's like there's nothing wrong with what you did, and he was perfectly fine, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I think not. I think I would never be satisfied.
No, that's the problem.
That's how much I like the character.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things like that in this movie where it's like just the fact that it is a prequel and it's dealing with a lot of the same characters from Fury Road. I think like that automatically in my mind is just kind of like there's nothing you can do. Like, a part of me is like you don't really need to demystify a lot of the stuff from Fury Road by showing us how it got to that point and what happened with it before. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
don't want to get too much more, but it's like in Fury Road, it was like, hey, there's Gastown and there's the Bullet Farm, but they never saw them in it. And we were talking about it on the way here. I was like, it's just left all to your imagination. You just fill it in. It's not important. We're just gonna have this really cool ride. Where this one was a lot more like, no, we're gonna actually show you all these places and how they work and what's going on with them and all the characters and
get a feel for like what the economy is.
Exactly, yeah. Which is fine, but at the same time, it's like I don't know if I really needed that or wanted that. Like, just leave that alone and do something different is what I would have liked.
Yeah, well, like it does kind of show some good insights into Miller's mind and like what he's interested in.
True.
It's like in Fury Road, like he did build this rich world, and I think he just wanted to explore it a little bit more,
which is fair. And I'm not hating on the movie. I really enjoyed it, and I liked all that stuff. But it's like I was saying, like that's the problem you have with prequels. If you're dealing with already established things, and we know the end point of them somewhat, it's like a bit of me's like, yeah, I already knew this stuff. Like, can we do something new?
Yeah, and I think this one I might start enjoying a bit more once I let it sink in, and then maybe on a second watch, I might appreciate it more. Though I should say, like I am positive on the movie. I think the action scenes are quite exciting.
Yeah, just is what you would expect, right? From it's just amazing.
Because like he's in a rare caliber of director who can just put together action sequences like that are on a whole other level.
Yeah, and I think it's really ballsy of him as well to be like, you know what, we're going to have a lot of the same setup as Fury Road. Is going to be a big rig, and there's going to be people attacking it, and there's going to be more than one action scene featuring that. But I'm going to make it an original from the last movie.
Yeah, and I feel like the one sequence where the title is like the stowaway,
right?
It's very similar to the final chase in the Road Warrior.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like there were like little subtle hints to the entire franchise that kind of threw out.
Yeah.
In the sequences, so I definitely appreciated that, and there were some like new takes on like cool wasteland action in there. Like you had I don't know. Would it be spoiling to say like what kind of like fighters there are in this? Maybe I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
there's new interesting takes. Like it's not just the same sort of stuff over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah, that was really impressive. It's like the same stuff that you like, but in a new way.
Yeah.
Which could be probably because they're like, oh well, maybe we wanted something different, but I don't think you do. He knows what he's doing. He does it well. It's just cool. Hot roddy cars chasing each other and blowing up, and you just sprinkle some new ideas in there, and I think that's all you need to keep it interesting and fresh.
So we mentioned Hemsworth and Taylor-Joy. Was there any other performances in there you wanted to shout out?
Trying to think if anybody stood out to me.
I guess History Man was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was actually a really cool concept. It's like there's people that are actually their whole function is just to remember things, like a walking encyclopedia,
like a mentat, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So that's very, very.
I thought that was. I don't think we had seen something like that before.
I don't remember seeing anything like that. No,
there were a couple times when they they ask him for like definition of this, and he gives out a pretty good definition.
Yeah,
and then other times like it seems like he's just grasping.
I was going to argue, right? Just make stuff up.
Yeah, and like it makes you kind of wonder, like what, why couldn't they just have saved a couple books?
Very, very good point.
And I think that this movie kind of causes some question marks on like the whole timeline of the Mad Max universe. Like, makes me think like kind of you just have to put Fury Road and this movie in like a separate box from the other ones.
Maybe, yeah.
Because like Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron are like kind of around the same age in Fury Road.
Right.
This one, it shows Furiosa as a young child.
Right.
And like her community have clearly been living in this area.
Right.
For a long time. And it's clear like the apocalypse happened a while ago, whereas like the first Mad Max, he's like in his early 20s and like, stuff's still starting to fall apart.
I feel like they've almost made Max as kind of like this ever living sort of figure that's just like he's not really a man at this point. He's just kind of like he's always there.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then that's why you can recast.
Exactly. That's why you can recast him and why he seems to not age to 20 years and he's always around.
I guess, yeah, like I didn't really feel precious about the Max character in the same way that I'm like a little like hesitant to accept someone else playing Furiosa. And I wonder why that is, I guess, like because like I said, Gibson was so old anyway, so like it kind of made sense for recasting, whereas like Theron is still like very much in prime action star territory.
Very true.
And like, yeah, I guess like the performance that Hardy's giving in Fury Road is like kind of not memorable at all.
Well,
like
he doesn't really. Yeah, he's just very, very muted, right? He doesn't. I don't think he says more than freaking 20 lines.
Yeah, the guy. Well, and Taylor-Joy in this one is basically mute for most of the movie.
Yeah, it doesn't say a lot even when she's not.
Like, there's a very good dialogue scene between her and Hemsworth towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Where I think like it's her strongest performance in the film. And like she's strong throughout, but it's very stoic. Anything else you want to mention before we get into spoilers?
Trying to think if I'm forgetting something we could point out, but no, I think we covered off.
You know what? We should talk about the viewing experience. We gave people a preview.
The
Screen X. So I don't know how you feel about it, Pete, but I think it was pretty stupid.
Yes. Incredibly pointless, in fact.
Like at the very beginning, I was like looking like intently on either side of me.
Yeah, just to see like, oh, that's interesting.
What is the point? Like it looks like dog shit. Like
it really does. And like they were projecting it on the wall, so there was like signs and stuff in the middle of it.
I was assuming it was gonna be like
the screen
that like I don't know what the hell they're thinking with that.
I think what they're thinking is we can attach 2 projectors to the ceiling and charge people for premium content by just projecting stuff on the wall.
And did you notice like half the time it wasn't even doing anything?
No, because I remember because there was certain times I was like, oh, I feel like I've forgotten it's even there, and then I was like, oh, because it's not there. It's just not showing anything on there.
Like I think the way you're supposed to experience it is you're supposed to just look ahead and then like, it works as
you're supposed to be immersive, right? Yeah. 270 degrees is what they said, right?
Yeah. Well, it was stupid. I never want to do it again. I'm glad I tried it once.
I mean, I feel like I understand the concept of what they're going for, but I feel like they had an idea and then did it like a real half-assed job of putting that forward.
It was very half-assed. Like, it would be an interesting idea if a director kind of
used it,
filmed a movie with the purpose of having an immersive experience like that.
Yeah.
This is definitely like just, adding something on to put for a surcharge for the movie.
Yeah, similar to what happened with 3D, right? Like they just start throwing that 3D conversion on things, and it doesn't always work out very well.
Yeah, you need a guy like Cameron who says, "I'm going to film this in 270 degrees,"
or at least plan for it to be in that format when you make it.
Yeah. No, and like it was very clear. Like, and I don't know how exactly they did it. Like,
I was trying to figure that out.
Some guy who watches the movie beforehand and then...
Yeah, I'm not sure because...
It looked like a lot of copy-paste for what we ended up seeing eventually.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why, like, sometimes it's turned on, sometimes turned off for when, like, the camera pans and stuff.
Yeah.
Able to kind of fill in the gaps of what the camera's eventually going to see.
Yeah, I guess it would be interesting to get that information of how they do it, but yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's like I don't know if I care enough to get to it.
I'd love to watch like a horror movie in that format. Would you be able to like see the killer before he actually like the jump scare?
To see him waiting there.
Just like Michael Myers just like crouching down, like ready to jump in.
Picking his nose. Just waiting for the right opportunity. That'd be hilarious.
So my pee report, the best time to take a pee, I clocked at about 1 hour, 1 minute. There's like a group of mechanics kind of standing in a row, and they're talking about how they're going to build up a new rig, and it goes on for a little while. Like I think you got plenty of time to run to the bathroom there quickly.
Right. Yeah, it's a good show. But I'd agree with that.
Pete mentioned there's a lot of fat on the movie.
Yeah, there really is.
So really, there's plenty of moments to kind of go and like just don't go like during any of the chase scenes or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plenty opportunities abound to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, for sure. Don't worry if you do miss an action scene because there'll be another one along. There's plenty.
All right, so before we head into spoilers, just want to let you know we'd love to hear from you. What did you think about this movie? What's your favorite car movie? What's your favorite Mad Max movie?
Definitely. Yeah.
Do you like Screen X?
Yeah. Screen X people are going to come for us now.
Yeah. Well, let us know at firstlookfinalwordpod@gmail.com. We're on all the socials.
Yeah,
love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, please do reach out. I'd love to hear feedback for sure.
All right, you comfortable heading into spoilers?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. Spoiler time. All right, where should we start?
I was I just wanted to talk really quickly about how like we saw Max for like 1 second.
Yeah, I called it, right? Did I say that? It's like he's going to be in the background. And
yeah, that was a good call. And it's basically exactly the sort of position he was in the Road Warrior, where he's like on a high cliff, kind of watching some of the action.
And that's kind of how Fury Road starts as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
he's got his big beard. So it's like the same place almost. Yeah. What I wasn't clear on in that was that were they sort of trying to say that he went and then saved her because had she collapsed while he was watching?
I don't think.
And then it showed her being dragged, and then she woke up in that creepy old woman's hole.
Yeah, I don't think he had anything to do with saving her.
That was just been a bit weird.
I think that particular sequence was poorly edited because it leaves you with a wrong impression because there's no like he saved her and then handed her over to the maggot lady.
You're right, exactly. That's what I mean. It was very odd.
That was a disturbing scene.
Right?
What the hell is up with that room?
Yeah, it's just like, that's where I collect dead bodies.
I collect dead bodies, let my maggots.
Would you like to stay here with me?
Is she harvesting like the maggots for protein? Is that what she's doing there?
What she's doing? I thought. Well, she said something like,
you'll be very comfortable here.
Yeah, you'll be comfortable. So maybe she's just like, you can come here if you want to die, but which seems very grim.
That's what I love.
Like not where I would go if I went to die to a room of corpses. You imagine what that hole smelled like.
Yeah, probably pretty rank.
Yeah, definitely very rank. There's no way you'd be not gagging. I feel like if you live it in the world of Mad Max, everything smells rank anyway.
Yeah, I guess you get pretty numb to it. The one thing I wanted to shout out was and I can't remember his name, but basically like her boss / lover.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch the name either. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this actually, because I've got thoughts.
During that like long chase sequence, you really got the impression like, oh, he's kind of doing a Gibson sort of impression.
Yeah.
And the takeaway I've had from him, I'm like, oh, this is what like he's what Mad Max would be like if Mad Max settled down for a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
And I don't know, I kind of ended up really liking their dynamic, like that they were like watching out for each other. I thought that was kind of hinted at the relationship that she would develop with Max in the next movie, like that, find someone that, has your back and is capable and competent. Sounds like you might not be quite so high on.
Yeah, like I don't know what. Well, the character just didn't work for me. like that the I forget his name too, but the male character. And I just never really. I don't know if it was the performance or what, but I just like it from the very start. It just wasn't working for me. So then when they developed that, I was just kind of like, I don't know if I really want to see like this love interest sort of angle. It wasn't really didn't really do anything for me.
Well, he was playing it like a little like emotionless.
Yeah,
I guess.
and it also to me it was just like, oh, it's just like, hey, here's a cipher for Mad Max because this is a Mad Max story. So here's your Mad Max character. Then I was like, do we necessarily need that in this?
That's really what he's playing as.
Yeah, like they even gave him basically the same jacket.
Yeah, like he has the exact same look,
right? And like weird hair, which I feel like was a choice. Like they're trying to give him like Mel Gibson hair, and he just looked weird. This never worked for me at all. That character, I was just a bit, I thought it was a bit odd.
Well, there was a moment when he's like looking at her arm, and he kind of keeps talking about the place that she wants to get to,
right?
And I was thinking, like, is he conning her? Like,
yeah, you see, that's what I was like. Well, and I think that's because, like, the way he played the character, I was like, I don't really understand. Is this guy we're supposed to be rooting for this guy? Because I'm not, and I don't really care what he's doing. And so then I was the same. I was like, oh, maybe he's going to double cross her and then, like, move on, which I probably would have enjoyed more, actually, than what they did.
Well, I don't know. I guess, like, my favorite parts of Fury Road are when those two characters are working so well in tandem.
Yeah.
So I was really enjoying those parts of the movie, even though like he is just playing a Max type character, right? Except that he's someone who's realized that there's no good place to go.
Yeah.
And like
I think that might have been my problem with it. I was like, I'm the same. I really love those parts of Fury Road. So part of me was just like, oh, you're just trying to redo that? Which in my mind, I'm like, so this character just like globs onto whoever Mad Max archetype she can find and becomes like their partner right away. I was like, I felt like in Fury Road, I got the impression that she didn't trust anyone, and then with Max, it was a really big deal that she was like, all right, we can work together and trust someone. But I was like, oh no, she's trusting this geezer as well.
Well, it is kind of interesting that after that first like big chase sequence where they're kind of just going down that paved road, which I think is my favorite part of the movie.
No, it was really cool.
He says to her, like, you have this raw talent and I want to harness it. It's thinking like, oh, she's pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, what is it? What is it? What is it? You can teach her how to look grumpy while you
she can
do that already. Yeah, that's what I mean. And then they just kind of cut to like, okay, now she's just driving the rig and we're all done.
Yeah.
That was another thing that I kind of felt I was struggling with a little bit, was trying to keep up with the timeline of it, because they seem to jump around sometimes, and I was trying to figure out like, okay, so how much time is supposed to have passed now?
Yeah, so she says to Hemsworth, 15 years ago, you did this terrible woman. So I guess 15 years in total.
So how old is she supposed to be then? Because how old was she 20? At the start? Like, yes.
Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess there's supposed to be a pretty big gap between when she says that at the start of Fury Road, right? I know they showed it in this movie, but I think there's still supposed to be quite a bit of time.
So probably like
enough time for a tree to grow out of a guy.
At least another 10 years, I guess, right?
Yeah, easily.
But like the way that the movie ends, do you really think that Furiosa is going to hang around there for 10 years?
Yeah, that's the thing,
like,
right?
Would she not go at the first available opportunity?
Yeah, that's stuff. There's nitpicky stuff, but the timing really threw me off, because even like Immortan Joe and his kid and his son, like
they're the same age.
Like Rectus or whatever his name, when she shows up as like a 8-10-year-old girl.
Yeah, he's like a 4-year-old man.
He looks exactly the same as he does in Fury Road, and I'm like, which is supposedly like 20-30 years later at that point. 15-20 years later. Like, that guy should be old as shit by the time.
One that they have, I think it's the same actor playing Immortan Joe, but I think it's someone doing a different voice.
Okay.
Because he sounds younger, I thought.
Yeah. I thought he looked younger too, actually, but maybe that's just makeup.
Yeah. Well, and I have to check if it's the same.
I don't know
actor. I'm not positive. but it's the same actor who plays Toe Cutter in the first Mad Max.
Yeah,
and then he brought him back for Morton Joe for I guess 2 movies now, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
But I wanted to ask you, like, what did you think about Joe in this movie? Because I feel like it was kind of portraying him as a very thoughtful and competent leader.
Yeah, they really flipped it, right, and made it, which I guess does sort of give you an explanation of why Furiosa might hang around, because he didn't seem like that much of a crazy, like, nut job like he does in Fury Road. He just seemed like a guy who knew what he was doing, and
yeah, like I feel like the movie should have ended with a different tone on that, because like talking to like the pseudo Mad Max guy, he's like, where are you gonna go? Because Bullet Farm is worse, and Gastown is way worse than that. Like the Citadel, like there's some terrible stuff that goes on there, but it's by far the best of the options that you have. And then kind of the movie also kind of agrees with that. Like,
true, yeah.
Even though like, you know, he keeps women as slaves, which like the movie like almost sort of like doesn't like play into like the evilness of that enough.
No, not really. It's just like, yeah, what else are you gonna do?
And then like it shows like, you know, but he is a competent leader and he can keep order in like terrible times. Whereas like Chris Hemsworth just keeps adding a bunch of people to his motorcycle gang. Like he just like that's his main problem, is like he just keeps adding people to his gang and there's too many people to
right. And he's just nuts, but he's just crazy. I really loved his performance in this one. He's just having such a great time. Man.
I loved his performance too. I feel like we got too much of it.
Yes, I was literally gonna say that. And that's where I feel like you could cut a lot of it out, because it was amazing, but then by then you're like, okay, it's like I've seen enough of this shtick now.
Well, I feel like I know too much about him now.
Yeah,
and I know too much about Morton Joe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to say. It's like taking the mystery out of a lot of it. It's like,
that's what we were praising on the way up.
That's exactly what I said about Fury Road. Is that
you can just show a character in their outfit, and then you know everything about them.
Give them a cool name, show them in their outfit, and that's all you need to know. But yeah, there's a lot you could have cut out. So I wanted to ask what you thought of the end, because I know we talked about on the way up, like how it's going to end and how that's going to tie into Fury Road. So how were you satisfied with the conclusion of the conflict between Furiosa and God, I forgot his name.
What
was his name? I want to say Despacito, but that's not right.
No, it's Dementus.
Dementus, yeah. Were you?
No, I wasn't. Because you know, Furiosa makes it back without an arm. And then they kind of do an ellipses and say, and then started the 40-day war. But then we don't see any of that war. Then all of a sudden, just Dementus is on the run from those guys.
Yeah, they really rushed through the last bit there.
It's not just, it somehow doesn't end in like a big action sequence.
Yeah. Which I think was a deliberate choice, right?
It's deliberate because it's going for more of
but I didn't like it.
a revenge thing, but I feel like it doesn't quite.
Whoa! No!
Oh my God! We just hit a skunk.
Get your clothes pegs out.
Oh gosh. Well, I will say there's no opportunity to swerve out of the way. We are on a highway in construction, and
R.I.P. Mr. Skunk.
Oh man, what a terrible thing to capture on audio.
You'll be forever immortalized.
Can you state on the record that you think that there was no way I could have avoided that?
Yeah, Trevor definitely did not steer into the skunk, just to make it clear.
So like a construction barrier on my
there's nothing you could have done there.
Yeah,
you're going at a clip of like 100 kilometers an hour. You can't really swear, by the way, anyway.
Oh geez, this is just good radio here.
Yeah, this is excellent content.
So anyways, like it very much is leaning into the revenge story aspects.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, it sort of tied into what they were doing with that character, because yes, he was demented, hence his name, the guy was nuts, but he was also like very he seemed like he was very smart at the same time. Like he's very interested in history and like using big vocabulary and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I think they were going for like a very like esoteric like character. So at the end, it was like, yeah, let's just have him like monologue about stuff, about the deeper meanings of life and the pointlessness of everything, which I kind of got. But at the same time, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is really working for me as much as I would like.
Well, for me, I wish there was a better sense of, like action geography. Whereas
Right, yeah,
in Fury Road, like you really understand like
yeah,
where everything is
right,
and kind of the movements of everyone and why it's so important. And in this one, like Dementus has that whole plan. Like I'm going to draw these guys out to go to Gastown and they're going to attack the Citadel. But then they do a bluff, and then they're going to meet him in battle. But then you kind of don't see
no, that is like
how those forces all kind of collide together. It just does a dot dot dot. It's already like towards the end of the battle, and then Furiosa just comes and chases them down. Like it's a little unsatisfying.
It was very weird. Like when she just shows up in that beat up old car, and it's like, oh, I was like, oh, we're at the front of the war now. But it was like it's just random people everywhere, and it's I guess that's over now. Like, is that what they're trying to say? It's done?
Like I think it would have been much better if they had devised a way to kind of lure them out of Gastown, and then you have a big chase sequence, right? Like, and I know like that's what you do in a Mad Max movie, but
right,
it just kind of works.
Yeah, you feel a bit robbed when you don't get it as well, right?
And then I feel like have all that, have the end showdown with Dementus. Like I think that all that was good. I like that it kind of ended with just her and him, kind of stalking him in the desert. I think you could have earned that end a bit better.
Yeah. I think that's probably what it was. I feel like it was just kind of like they rushed to that point.
And then I think once she kind of, she aligns herself with a Morton Joe's crew to take down Dementus, starts working for him. And then I think you need like a heart shock moment where she sees like, oh, Morton Joe is like just as bad. Like I can't stay here. I would be morally compromised.
Yeah.
Even though like I know that there's just like a terrible wasteland out there. Like I have to try to find something better.
Yeah, I think I feel like they went out of their way to connect it directly with Fury Road, like you say, like the Rogue One style.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was a bit of detriment to the movie because, like you say, it kind of skipped a bunch of stuff and then showed a point we didn't really need to see. I didn't think.
Yeah, well, like even the end credits start showing sequences from Fury Road.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it just makes me think like, well, like like Fury Road was a great movie. Like,
yeah, this is a different movie.
Like this this movie kind of just like it owes too much to Fury Road. Like it's sort of in awe of Fury Road.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think that's what I was trying to say earlier. Where it was like, I really wasn't expecting it to be as much of all. This is just everything that we already know from Fury Road. Like we're not going to leave the places that you've already seen. Like we're actually going to stay even more insular than Fury Road did, because at least that went to do a few different places and then back again. This one was like, no, there's these 3 places and that you already know about, and we're just going to tell you more about those and show you more about those and spend a long time going back and forth while Furiosa grows up.
Yeah, it's kind of like a detriment to the movie that Dementus just ends up taking over Gastown, so he just becomes a part of a faction that we are already aware of.
I think that's where I sort of started being a little bit disappointed, because at the start it's like, yeah, he's just got this gang and he's just like bombing around and he's kidnapped Furiosa, and I was like into that. And then when he went to the Citadel and Immortan Joe like spanked him with sending that war boy, which was pretty cool. Like, and then like they retreated. I was like, okay, that's enough. Like that would have been enough for me.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, that's enough Fury Road reference for me now. We've seen Immortan Joe's badass, seen the Citadel. let's just now continue with the Menace's story, and we'll get into how he and Furiosa have this whole thing before she ends up back in the Citadel for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But no, to your point, it was like, no, they're just going to actually just shoehorn him into that whole situation and make him the guys at Gastown.
Yeah. No, I did enjoy him taking over Gastown. That was
a pretty cool sequence.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, even though I shouldn't say I should disagree with the choices, right? Because it's his movie, it's his franchise. He can do whatever he wants. They're not the choices I would have made, but like, he is such a great director of action sequences. Like, even though it's not the movie I had hoped it would be, like, I still really enjoyed just sitting through it.
Yeah, and I think it does sound like we're shitting on it a bit, but yeah, we both do we both have said that we really enjoyed it. Yeah. And I think a lot of it as well is it comes down to expectation. Like I was expecting it to do something they didn't do as much, and then that's like you can't blame the movie or the filmmaker for my expectations. That's not me. But
the thing I was going to mention before, like those parachute fan things.
How cool is that?
Pretty cool.
That's what I was trying to sort of get around without spoiling when I said that, like, the exact same sort of sequence of just like people attacking a giant rig, but like the new twist on it, the parachutes and the fans and stuff, and like the guy, like, when he comes off the back of the bike and he's just like on roller skates or something, and then like pulls his chute and flies up. I'm like, I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah, like super cool. I don't know how like well that would actually work. Seems like a very strange plan of attack. It's like, we'll just get parachutes and we'll parachute over them and throw grenades on them. I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess so.
It's a really good idea when the opponent you're facing doesn't have guns, but because as soon as they have guns, they can just like, you're a very easy target then.
Yeah, it didn't seem too hard to stop them. Well, like, like once you got a parachute, if you're not tethered to anything, then you're done. They're
good to fight against the war boys who just have those like
those spears,
right? Because they can't get the high arc there.
No, that's very true. A lot of people got burned up in this movie.
Yeah, it was very fiery.
Yeah, like way more than the last movie. Yeah, like even stuff like showing the Doof Warrior, right? That's his name, and that stuff in the last movie was like, oh, you all remember Doof Warrior? He was cool with his guitar. You remember that guy? Here he is again. I'm like,
oh yeah, that was really just like it's like 5 seconds.
Just unnecessary just to have him in it. Which, like, that's what I mean. Like, that happens a lot with prequel stuff. You're like, oh, you all remember that character that everyone loved? Like, here he is again.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it made sense in the context of the movie. They were going out to fight, and they take the big Doof Warrior rig with them, like they did in the last movie. But I didn't need to see that again. It was like, you can't do it cooler than it was the first time you see it.
Yeah, it's almost like just too self-referential.
Yeah, exactly. Which was, I think that was a lot of what I didn't like about this one.
So my concern is that, there were like 5 people in the theater with us on Thursday night, and Fury Road didn't do as good of a business as I really thought it did for a movie of that caliber.
No.
So I am very worried that this is going to be the last Mad Max movie.
End of the saga.
For a long time anyways. Like, Miller's getting pretty high up there in age. Yeah. Like, I'm assuming that, like, unless this one is a mega hit, and I feel like it's not going to be, then this is going to be his last Mad Max movie.
Yeah. I wonder if they would take it to like TV or something. I think it would work really well. In, like,
this story,
long form.
This story really should have been like,
yes, it could have
a season of television.
Yeah, because it's funny because like we've already said that it's very long and there's a lot of fat on it, but there's also like, I think they could have done more. Like we said, they skipped pretty quickly at the end there past the whole 40-day war, and then they skip pretty quickly after that to get to the start of Fury Road.
Oh yeah, there's like the whole middle chapter. Like, she's obviously working with Joe for like 10 years or whatever.
Like, they spent a lot of time on things that I didn't necessarily feel like they needed to spend a lot of time on. There's a lot of things that just seem like, oh, we've already seen this. They're just kind of doing it again.
Yeah.
Like the whole sequence. And I think that's why like the guy who was her mentor / love interest, I felt like I was thinking to myself, he could have just dropped that entire character. You could have just dropped that entire sequence of when they went to Bullet Town even. and I don't think it would have been that detrimental to the movie. Like, I don't know if you really needed it. Like, you didn't need more.
The only thing
reasons for her to want revenge.
the only like result that came out of that was that Dementis then chased them down, killed him, and like her arm came off as a result.
They need an origin story for the arm getting cut off.
It was kind of interesting when they started chasing them after Bullet Farm, because I was thinking like, well, what, like, why are they chasing them with such passion?
Yeah,
at this point.
I didn't really understand what even their plan was there at the Bullet Farm. Like, they ambushed them when they went in, but like, to what end? They just wanted the rig, or just like, because
I guess they wanted the rig. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed, I didn't really. That's what I mean.
Destroyed.
Yeah, I didn't really get what the whole point of that whole thing was. I mean, it was very cool. There was a lot of cool shots in it, but I feel like you could have just used some of those shots in. Like the same thing when they went to Gastown and it was like a riot, and then they left. I was like, I guess they had to show that things were not going well there, but I just felt like it was a bit.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they had just followed that sort of cycle a bit better, because that did seem very interesting when they got to Gastown.
Yeah, then they just left, right?
Way too many people there.
Way too many.
It shows that like he cannot keep people under control.
No.
Unless that was part of his plan, like he told them to look all rowdy.
No, I don't think that was part of the plan.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know but then it seemed like he had very good control of his people, because he got them to like take part in a ruse after that.
Also, this is very nitpicky. I do know, but I don't understand how you keep like an oil refinery and like a quarry to make bullets. How you keep that functioning in this world? Like, how do you produce bullets? But Bullet Farm, like, how are they doing that? How are they refining gasoline? This freaking gas, like, it doesn't look like they have a lot of qualified people or working machinery anyway. Like, holy crap! Like, that's a lot of bullets. Where are you getting your bullet casing from? Yes, you've got a quarry, but like, how are you making all these different caliber bullets and stuff? Just couldn't get my head around it. And then after that, it's like, well, now Gastown looked like it had been burnt down by the end of it, and Bullet Farm was pretty much half destroyed as well. And I'm like, how are you getting that? Because they even said like, oh, it's going to take generations to fix it. It's like, yeah, well,
that's the benefit to just saying like, there's Gastown.
Don't worry about how it works.
There's the Bullet Farm.
Just know that the gas comes out of there. The bullets come out of there.
The more time you spend in those places, the more questions.
Exactly. It's like, well, hang on. Now I see what Gastown is, and I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, it's just like a factory on a giant pool of oil.
Yeah, with like, I just do not understand how that works at all. But I don't want to or need to. You don't need to show me that.
One type of sequence that I thought worked really well in this movie that they haven't really had before is sort of like the lone wolf chase sequences, where you have like, the mom on the motorcycle.
That was really awesome.
And then like slowly picking them off. I thought that worked really well, and that was sort of a thing that we hadn't really seen before.
No, the whole beginning, like even the first half of the movie, I thought, and that's what I thought was really weird. I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. That's why I'm saying, like, but Anya Taylor-Joy's not even in this movie yet. I feel like we've seen a whole movie already.
Yeah, no,
like we've just young Furiosa. Like you could have almost have made this two different movies.
Yeah, I think that first act is really quite good. If I were to make some changes, I would have her like not be immediately captured again after her mom made that sacrifice, and then she kind of just wanders off, and then because like she is as a prisoner with Dementis, and then she kind of gets traded to Immortan Joe, but then she has to go from being a girl in a harem to like disguising herself as a boy. Yeah, it gets a little messy there.
Yeah, like, and I was a bit confused as to how that all works as well, because obviously not a boy, by the way.
Yeah, very obviously.
And obviously quite attractive, not a boy. Which I feel like would not go unnoticed just because you've got a scarf over your face sometimes. I wasn't quite buying that she could like go from being like the prized possession of Immortan Joe to just being like, oh no,
I'm a grease.
No one cares about this person now. Yeah. I mean, maybe I feel like they didn't show me that would be believable. Maybe there's a ton of women there just doing stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always have issues when people are like, I'm going to just die myself as a boy. And it's like, I mean, they do mention it. He's like, she's scrawny, or he's scrawny. And like, yeah, it's obviously not not a male.
So we're nearing the end of our journey. What do you think you would ultimately rate this as, Pete? I'd say it's, definitely see this in the theater. I think it's
definitely,
it's a worthwhile experience. Don't see it in Screen X or whatever the equivalent is.
This would be a good IMAX movie.
I
think. If you got a really good IMAX screen near you, I would say definitely check this one out.
Yeah.
I can smell that skunk now we've stopped.
No, don't tell me that. And then I would say also just go out to the theater,
support it.
Support it, or we're not going to get any more Mad Max movies.
See it 10 times. Yeah.
Skunk smell.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that happened.
I know, the worst thing to hit.
That's the only time I've ever hit a skunk.
No, I've never hit a skunk, thankfully.
Yeah. Do you want to switch cars?
No, you know what? I'm all right for now. But no, I'd say I would rate it pretty high. I think I feel like we spent most time just sort of going through the things we didn't like, but no, I really did enjoy it, and I think you said earlier as well. I think a repeat viewing would work really well. I would really be interested to see how it works as a double feature with Fury Road. Like if you watch,
would you watch this one first?
You'd have to, I think.
Yeah.
Like if you watch this and then Fury Road straight after, I wonder how that would stack up. Because they are quite different in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Also very much the same in a lot of ways.
I'd be very interested in buying the 4K for this and then seeing how I feel like I feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I just watched it in IMAX.
Yeah. The Screen X was a bit distracting. I'll give you that.
All right. Well, I think that's about it for us, folks. For those who made it all the way through, we want to hear what you think about Furiosa, Mad Max Saga.
Let us know.
Let us know. First look, final word pod at gmail.com. Love to hear from you guys. I think Pete and I both liked it with some reservations.
Yeah. Nowhere near. Like, where would you, before we wrap up, where would you rank it in Mad Max movies? We don't have to do a full ranking, but.
Yeah,
because you said you think Road Warriors.
Road Warriors still one of my favorite movies, and then Fury Road, then Thunderdome, and this and the first Mad Max are kind of close together in my mind.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
What do you think? What about you?
I do like these two a bit more than the originals. I think just because I just love. I don't know. I think
so you like this one better than the Road Warrior?
No, I don't think so. I think Fury Road might be top of my list for Mad Max movies, but I was going to say even though I just said that I love these ones better. I don't think this wouldn't be better than the Road Warrior. I don't think in my ranking. But I was hoping it would be. Is what I think what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But no, my expectations again getting the better of me.
I kind of want to just go watch Fury Road now.
Yeah, well, I watched it last night, and that might have been to my detriment as well because it was so fresh in my mind. Like as soon as that guy popped up, who was like the doctor, I was like, that's the doctor, which I knew if I hadn't watched it last night, I would never have noticed that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's here and is the same age or actually older than he was in the last movie.
Well, the wasteland's really good for your skin.
Apparently, right? Yeah, that desert sun and it's definitely good for the skin. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right.
Well, like you said, guys, let's hear your thoughts. Love to hear what you think of Furiosa. Until then, that's the final word.
Bye.